I mean, it's still damning, but United fans aren't necessarily so upset by that as they once were. As Peter said, Chelsea, having conceded 6 today, slipped beneath Arsenal. Manchester United into 4th on the weekend. Spurs won today. Liverpool yesterday, Manchester City go back on top, having scored 10 more goals than Liverpool now. We will discuss further when we come back. Peter Schmeichel and Paul.
To be fair, you're right. He's made me laugh a few times over the years, Nick. I have to say.
Well, who wants to start? And what else can we say about an extraordinary football team?
If they don't win the championship, something has got to go really, really wrong for this team. We're sat here, we're looking at what they've got on the bench. Sane, Silva, Mahrez, Otamendi, Jesus. I mean, they can play 2 different teams and still produce that kind of quality. Of course,
may I just confirm what it is you're saying? You're writing Liverpool and Tottenham off, are you?
No, I'm just saying it's really difficult for me to see anyone competing with this team. I mean, that team there is one of the best Premier League teams ever. So you really have to win every game if you are Tottenham or Liverpool. You have to win every single game in the run-in, because they have shown us today it doesn't matter what kind of pressure you put on us, we're going to go out there and we're going to perform. They played the team that actually was number 4 before the game started yesterday. So a Champions League plays team, and they beat them 6-0, and it could have been more, you know. And there was no doubt about it. It wasn't luck, it wasn't Chelsea, you know, they were not too bad. They were just completely outplayed. They had a little bit of a slow start, Chelsea here, not concentrating. But from that moment onward, I mean, it was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Cruise control, I would call it, I think. They were in.
Yeah, it was an electric start, wasn't it? The first 20 minutes, the game was done and dusted. And it felt like a long second half. It was a bit of a formality in the end, but it was the first 20 minutes that created the resounding victory.
Yeah, any time you can take Aguero off in a game with Manchester City and Chelsea when there's nothing wrong with them after 63 minutes, kind of tells you how comfortable Manchester City are.
You can see that scenario happening when they're playing against probably 16 other teams in the Premier League. Well, obviously all of them beneath them, but the bottom end. This is Chelsea.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. That is exactly what I was thinking. This is a game that you would expect a scoreline, a dominant performance like that against a team in relegation trouble, a team that's put hardly any victories together, maybe a cup team against a team from a lower league. I mean, it was so dominant.
Love him, I do, Aguero. I'm sorry.
I said to you earlier, Paul, what's he got to do to be right up there with the very best? Having seen him again today, he is, isn't he?
Well, he's one of the best the Premier League's ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, the greatest striker in the history of the club, of Manchester City, and you know what he's doing in terms of goal scoring, one of the best strikers the Premier League's ever seen.
I mean, you see, it's difficult because you're comparing them with 2 phenomenal footballers that we've hardly ever seen the likes of in football ever, and that's Messi and Ronaldo, and they're totally different in the way they go about their football to the way he goes about his football. Now, I think for what he does, he's as good as anyone in the world. As good as.
You've faced them all, Peter. I mean, literally, you've faced them all. And you've played with some very good ones.
Yeah.
Where would he rate amongst them?
No, he's out there with the, I mean, just this kind of, I mean, his instincts for where the goal is and what he has to do, his decision making is second to none. I mean, you know, okay, the current Man United manager, he had a little bit of the same. You know, he didn't get the same kind of opportunities that he got, but he is just, I mean, is it 2 or 3 years ago he hardly ever scored anything outside the box. Everything he scored was from inside the box. Today we've seen it again. He just takes one touch, he hits him so dry, the ball moves a little bit, but he knows exactly what he's doing. He's just developed his game, and when Pep came in, he didn't fancy him. He didn't think he was a player that he could build
Well, do you know what?
anything
I
on.
think he fancied him as a goal scorer, but I think what he wanted to do and what he did do, amazingly, he has made him better because he works harder outside the box now than he's ever done. He works harder defensively than he did before Pep arrived. So I think that's Pep bringing in Jesus and leaving him out the side quite a bit has made him. And great players will respond, won't they? They'll respond to being asked a question or being given a challenge. And I think he's responded in such an amazing way.
And that leads me on to something I wanted to say earlier on, that what we're also seeing at this moment in time is Pep Guardiola's experience. Now, the first season he was there, I think his inexperience in the Premier League, cost him. That led them to Leicester's Premier League win. Third season, sorry. He knows what this is about. And the little spell they had in the middle here, they've lost 4 games, which is very much out of character. But he's bringing the players back. The players they all look to be in good shape, in good form, and mentally exactly where they need to be. And that's good. That's very, very good management. Because the other team we saw today, they looked tired. They looked like they didn't want to be there. They at no point in this game did they look inspired.
No.
It's
hard though. If you go up against a team like Manchester City, you're 4-0 down after 25 minutes, you sit there and go, please blow your whistle.
But we knew they'd push on second half, didn't we? We knew 4 wasn't enough.
Just going on about that, it's sad to see from my point of view Chelsea in this situation. There's clearly something wrong.
Well, we'll come back to that. Let's just stay with City for a minute because I've got a question for you on that. Prepare yourself.
Prepare yourself. Listen, that's a penalty. Azpilicueta beaten by speed, beaten with speed.
Brilliant.
And another hat-trick.
Brilliant. A bit like Son earlier. You knew he wasn't going to miss, didn't you?
He missed the easiest chance of the match he had.
Yeah.
He missed that. Which is strange.
441 games it took Alan to get to 11 hat-tricks.
Harry Kane's up there, isn't he? Look at that. He's the only one really who's going to threaten Sergio.
I have to say that Sergio Aguero plays in an incredible team.
He does.
They provide him with chance after chance. Alan Shearer played in 2 good teams. He had to make a lot of those goals by himself. It's so difficult. All I'm saying here is it's so difficult to compare. Alan Shearer was obviously in my era, and he was unbelievable.
Terrific.
Christ, what a player to play against. And the thing, you never knew what he was going to do, but a lot of the goals that he scored came from his physicality, his intelligence, and something that he did himself. Okay, he's got a tap-in and a penalty that, the tap-in is, that's an easy one. He got a penalty, which he was involved, and then of course a goal. But that is a talent as well. But it's difficult to compare that, and people will do that.
Of course we will. Yeah. 5 became 6.
Yeah. And I think this just, talked about who they can bring on. They bring on Mahrez, they bring on Jesus, and it's just ridiculous. They bring on Silva. Does that make them any weaker? Maybe a touch, not much.
All players that could have started the game quite easily.
Easy.
Sterling finished that one, easy finish, but he had a really, really strong performance from Sterling.
I thought he was terrific tonight, actually.
Yeah, played very well.
It's amazing to see his development, how much he's improved by being managed by, possibly one of the best coaches in football. I thought he was really good at Liverpool. I thought he was good.
He was.
But now he's up there.
Mr. Clement.
Here it comes. Here's your googly.
You know Chelsea as well as probably anybody else. You've been there. You know the inner workings of that football club. We know that Villas-Boas was tripped up, that Scolari left partway through his contract. They're not the only ones. There have been others. When you saw Sarri leave the dugout today, bearing in mind what we heard from Matt Critchley at half-time, allegedly talking to Gianfranco and saying that they're not listening to me, what can I do? He's gone public recently. So what now? And what chance that he walks away?
Oh,
Well, I don't think that will happen. I don't think it will.
Really?
I don't think it will. The reaction at the end of the game, whether he's purposely gone to blank Pep or whether that's just the pressure that he's under and what's going on in his head and what he's got to go and say to his players now and what he has to go and say to them. I'm really interested to see what he's going to say to the media now, because he did publicly criticise the team very heavily after the Arsenal defeat. Since then, they got beat 4-0 away at Bournemouth, a game that I was at, and was concerned about what I saw that night because of the demeanour of the players. And I didn't see a team, never mind fighting for the manager, but fighting for each other and fighting for the club and fighting for the fans. And I think we saw that again today. They're obviously a team bereft of confidence. Now, whether that's because they don't like the way they're playing or don't agree with the way that they're playing, the players still have to go out and give more. So there's something going on that's wrong behind the scenes. And what I do know for sure is the club will not accept that. The owner will not accept that. And history shows that when the team is not playing at the level that is required and expected for a club like that, and what they've achieved over the years, they do take measures. They will act.
Do you know what, I've heard that before, that kind of explanation you've just thrown at us there from what side?
Mourinho
Manchester
twice.
United and Mourinho.
Well,
this season.
Chelsea as well. Mourinho this
Exactly
season,
the same things that people were levelling at Josie's Manchester United. You're kind of saying that's the feeling I get about Chelsea right now, which cannot be good with a new coach, a brand new coach in the club. Can't be.
I also think that there's been mistakes made with what they've done in recruitment. I mean, I can't understand how a club like Chelsea can have a player on loan as their striker. I mean, none of the top teams do that, and I can't remember looking back over seasons at the top teams when a team has ever had a striker on loan.
Well, you can trace that back to the fallout between Costa and Conte, can't you?
Yes.
That's really where their problems started, in that area.
Costa was the main man and was very effective. He looked like he potentially could be a bit of a handful, but he was fantastic on the pitch, and one thing he he ran through a brick wall and was tough. Before that, they had Drogba, who served the club fantastically over the years and was a winner and was a leader. That's not any disrespect to Higuain. I know him and I've worked with him briefly, and he is a fantastic striker, but got a big responsibility to put on his shoulders, someone that hardly knows the club, and now he has to lead the line for them.
How long is that loan deal? He's wishing it's a 1-week loan deal.
Yeah.
He's probably looking at flight schedule. Can't take me out of it. This is his first game today, wasn't it?
It's obviously not a happy ship. That would be a reasonable conclusion, would it?
It doesn't look like it. It looks like it's a powerful accusation to say that players don't care. But if Man United caught me up yesterday, dropped me into fifth, where I've been in the championship positions for a very long time, actually talking about challenging for the championship as well. And I know it's a difficult game. It's a fantastic team I'm playing today. But I will try. I will try really hard, and I will show everybody, even if it's not going my way, that I'm trying. And I will not be criticised for not trying.
But how many times, you haven't been here with us previously, but how many times, Andy, have we had this conversation with different guests, guys from your generation? And I get that you boys would play because it mattered to you. I used this quote the other day. You'll be working with him this week. Very good friend of ours, Andy, used the phrase that his generation played for football because they enjoyed it. Today's generation play off football. That kind of sums it up, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general terms, yes, but not the top level.
No.
Not the top level.
Well,
It's still the same. The top level still plays for football.
What's happened at Manchester United this year? They played the manager out. What's happening at Chelsea at the moment? They look as though they're playing the manager out.
Again.
I mean...
I have to say, I disagree with that. I disagree.
You don't think they played Mourinho out?
No, I think he was very, very much responsible for what happened.
I think he was part responsible. I think he wanted to leave. Yeah, I've said that.
I think the way that he played the team was so against what the players are used to at that football club. And when you have a way of playing, or a mentality of playing, I'd rather say, it's difficult to do something else. If you have been brought up with attacking and trying to get number 2 and trying to get to number 3 goal and trying to get to number 4 goal, not getting 1 goal and then defend. If that's sort of the mentality that is deeply engraved in you, it's really difficult to do the other stuff.
So you stop doing both, knowing full well that the coach will be the victim rather than you, because you've got 1 million and more followers on the social media, and Manchester United need you.
I think you're a bit harsh with the Man United players there.
What is the most recent example? It's not the only one, Peter,
I honestly don't think the players did anything other than try, but was very confused, and we had this yesterday, when I said every time you see your manager on TV, every time he represents you or the club, it's negative. You know, it wears you out. I mean, I was very, very fortunate. I only experienced that very, very briefly at the end of my career. Other than that, every time I saw my manager, he was upbeat and he was making sure that the world believed in us. So I believed in him as well. And he would never ever very long. I tell you, and this is it, you know, people talk about the hairdryer, they talk about all this with Sir Alex Ferguson. What was really great about him, and whatever happened in a game, and we could have won this game 4-0. We could have lost the game as well. But whatever happened, he would spend whatever minutes it took him to get this out of his system and say whatever needed to be said. And once he said, get your bath, that was it. That was it. And you knew that it would never return. Now, what we've seen with Mourinho, and especially in the last 2 months, is that all his frustrations has been taken on to the next day and the next press briefing and the next interview, and you could just see, if you go through all the interviews in the last 2 months, you know his mood is just going on a downward spiral. He was not a happy man, and that has got an effect on the players.
But
more
you,
than you think.
You think the players that you're watching now are putting as much into playing for Manchester United under Mourinho?
I know
as
where
they
you're
are
going with
Solskjaer?
this. I know where you're going with this, but the change was an easy change for Ole Gunnar. You know, very, very easy, because all he had to do was come in and smile. That would straight away change the whole dynamics of the football club. And then he would start to say, hey, I want you to attack. I mean, I know you're getting towards Pogba on this one, because he was sort of the one in the media. But if you see the way Pogba plays now, as opposed to one before, the 22nd of December, yesterday he made so many runs into the box. I didn't count them. I should have done that. But a minimum of 10 runs into the box, being the 3rd or the 4th man. You know, that has value when you're Man United, that you got players in the box. Also, he made passes going forward, whereas before 20 seconds after, he was making passes across, like that, you know, or backwards. And that's a big change in what your brief is as a manager, as a player. What is a manager telling you? Can we go for the second goal? No, go back. And you think, okay, I'm going to go back. And then if you're pulled back by 1 goal, which happens so often, you know, what then? Then you're out of your sort of attacking mentality. And with Ole, who has got nothing to lose, he just tells him, go on, express
What about
yourself.
when he has got something to lose?
Well, that's a
make it
different thing.
permanent?
I think this February month is a big month for him, because now he's got PSG, so we'll see what Ole, how capable he is in Europe. I think that's really important. Also, he's got Liverpool. Liverpool is by far the biggest game ever at Old Trafford every season. It's the first game you look for when the fixture list is out. When is Liverpool? How many ticks do I need? People start phoning you up. But it is. It's a massive, massive game, and of course, this game here is even more.
Leave out individuals and Manchester United from this. But I want to stay with it just for a little while. Does the modern day player have a great deal more power than he once had? I've consistently called the Leicester dressing room Chelsea light, because if they don't like a coach, they get rid of him. It's happened at Chelsea time and time again. We've seen it at Manchester United. I think we probably agreed it would appear to be happening at Chelsea again. Does the modern player have too much of an input?
I know. I don't think the players as players they have that kind. I think a lot of the power has shifted over to agents. So there's so much money in a move for an agent that, you know, they know if this player's not happy there, I can move him here, and they can then manipulate the player into this move or wanting this move, and that threat, you know, to the club, that if you don't do this and that, those players are moving on to somewhere else, that is a threat, because at the end of the day, there isn't a club out there, and especially in England, that will want to keep a player that is unhappy, because it's just, you're just asking for trouble, and we've seen it a lot. There's been a lot of examples.
But they will keep them. They will keep them now, because if you look,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just throwing a couple of examples up from thinking. Chelsea have kept Hazard, who from various times in his Chelsea career has been very unhappy with coaches. Paul Pogba has been very unhappy at Manchester United. They were never getting rid of Paul, were they?
But
Probably.
Pogba's only really.
If they kept Mourinho, I think that was
but
inevitable.
But what I'm saying
But
to
in
you
all
is, yes,
fairness
you're
to
talking about
Pogba,
who was more powerful in Manchester United?
Pogba.
Paul Pogba or Jose Mourinho?
Pogba, all day.
And the greatest manager they've ever had, probably the greatest of all time, said the most important person in a football club is the manager.
That was then. That's why I said, does the modern player have much more power than he once did? I mean, Josie sat there and made that point.
Yeah.
He said that. I worked on the basis that Fergie said, you lose your power to a player, you've lost your club.
He said when a single player becomes bigger than the club, he has to go. And he went, not anymore.
Yes.
That was his exact words.
Who said that?
Josie.
Josie, yeah.
And I think he was alluding to...
Probably, yeah. But I think you have a point that it's moving towards that. I don't think the players. I don't think the players are that. I don't think they have that in them. They're just being brought up in a system where they have an agent from the age of whatever, and then they've just been basically prepared for any situation. You have to say this or you have to do that, and you are. And there's also now. There's if you are one of the big stars, the commercial side of being a superstar in football is far greater than the money they make in football, that is a lot. And so that becomes a power thing as well. Then you have to fight with the agents.
For commercial reasons, United, we're told, paid the money back on Pogba in 6 months. That's £89 million.
That's not bad.
There was only one winner then when the two collided, wasn't there?
Yes. Yes.
But the thing about Pogba is, and we would never know this, but had Jose still been the manager, would he have put him up for sale in this January window? Would he have gone?
See, I don't. Look,
we don't know.
Of course he wouldn't, but we know that Pogba would have left because he was unhappy. That was a certainty, wasn't it? And I am sure that Mourinho knew that if he consistently fell out with Pogba, there was only one outcome: he would get the sack.
Well, if you have to put certain amount of power into one player, then you can switch it over to so they do dismiss Mourinho. So what then? And I think it came as a surprise to most people. I think that it was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But why? You have to look behind. Why did they pick him? Well, he worked with Pogba when he was a kid, so he had him in the academy and in the reserves. Also Jesse Lingard. So the two of them, he's kind of brought them up, and he's taught them everything about most of what they knew about football at the time, and they respected him. So he comes back in, and they still respect him. I think, obviously, Jesse didn't play yesterday, but I think Paul Pogba is completely changed player. I mean, he's gone from. I mean, I saw him a lot of times from Juventus where I felt the game suited him well. It wasn't, high speed, high tempo, box to box. He could do all these little tricks, and he had time to find those incredible passes. Now he's got them.
Fergie, we understand, once had dinner with Pep Guardiola in New York and tried to persuade him to take the Manchester United job. If you could turn the clock back, would he be the one appointment that you would make?
He would have been a good choice. At the time, and I have to hold my hands up to this, I was quite vocal about not wanting Pep.
Really?
And I made a case for it. I said, we are, as Manchester United, this is what we are, and this is who we are, this is how we play, and that you can track that back to forever, really. All of our history.
You can, yes.
But Pep has a certain way.
To the former Liverpool midfield player, Sir Matt Busby.
But Pep Pep had this way of playing. It had to be like this. He said, "We don't want tackling. We want, possession is more important than." And I didn't like those statements. I think Pep has changed completely. He's grown into a different person since he was at Barcelona. He had all the children he had in the academy, he brought them into the first team, and he made this incredible Barcelona team, which just kept the ball basically. And then at times Messi or Xavi or Iniesta did something and they scored, and it was brilliant to watch. And it was also it was boring a little bit, because it's just the same. Where I thought Manchester United more exciting, more direct. We play with wingers, we play with speed, we cross the ball in, we hit it long, we do everything.
So Klopp would have been a better shout for you then.
No, I actually.
That was a very firm and fast note.
No, it was. I know. Well, I'm thinking that's Klopp's methods are that quick, fast football.
He's done quite well with Liverpool, I have to say that. The thing about Klopp, though, no, I'm not going to say this. I'm not going to say this.
Is what?
No.
But
no.
what you would say is, that given the time again, you would now concede he would have been the right man.
I tell you what, if we should have any regrets as Manchester United, that is that we only gave David Moyes 7 months. I think we should have given him more time, accepted that results were not going to be the way that we hoped they would be, and that playing would have been a little bit different. But I believe that he would have grown into that role. He has the personality and he had so many things he needed to learn, and he didn't have anybody to learn it from. He was left basically to run the football department on his own.
So sacking Mike Phelan was a mistake as well.
I think that really would have helped him had he had somebody with that kind of experience. But I also understand where he's coming from, and he did think that he brought that experience, the Manchester United experience with Phil Neville. So he had someone there. He was thinking along the route. But I don't think he wanted somebody there who'd work with Sir Alex. I can understand that. Yeah. But when you look back, maybe that was a mistake. But from the club's perspective, we should never ever have dismissed him, because that left us into making rash decisions on what's going to. So we bring in a name, and that went completely wrong. And had we brought in Mourinho instead of Louis van Gaal, I'm sure that history would have told us that it would have been better. Mourinho would have been so much better for him to come in at that point rather than after Van Gaal, because there's too many things that happened, too many players was brought in that didn't suit him and possibly didn't sort of suit Man United as well. But we go back. We're a football club. We look at our history, and we go back and we look at the number of years that from Sir Matt stopped, retired in 70 and all the way up to 86, and it still took Fergie from 86 to 93 to seal the first championship. So United is a kind of club that will always bounce back. This time we just hope it's a bit quicker. And I have to say, the way it's going now for Ollie.
Have you seen the film Too Good to Go Down?
Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
See, I think they missed you talk about the history of the football club.
Yeah.
Tommy Dock's period in time is it seems easily forgotten by Manchester United, but had he been given a little longer, my goodness, he could have created a dynasty like Fergie, couldn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because he believed in all the same things, Coppell and Hill and
very much so.
Pearson,
Tommy Dock, very much so.
But that ended as well.
But again,
we all know now why.
I think you have to learn from history. I think when you gain experience, you make mistakes. This is where you improve. You go back and you look at what you've done, you analyse it, and then you try to do better. I think we've seen a great example today from the Etihad of a manager who's looked back. What did I do 2 years ago? How did we win it last year? And he's mixed it up a little bit, and now he's got everyone fresh. They looked fresh today. Mm-hmm. He wouldn't have done that 2 years ago. Momentum carried them last year. It was just incredible. But when you hit bad results, I'm sure 2 years ago it would have been worse. But now he looks different as well. Mm-hmm. And this is what I think you should do. Always look at history. Always see what did we do. In the knowledge of who you are. I think that's really important, that you understand exactly who you are. And we talked about that in the car coming in, the identity of any football team, any football club. If you don't know that, and then it's kind of no purpose to it. But
I know what he's after. But you see, he does think of history. Just quickly, I know we've got to go. What you want to do? You won the treble. He wants to win all four.
there. And if anybody can, he can.
There you go.
Really appreciate, Paul, you making the effort from the middle of last week to come and join us this weekend. It's been fascinating. Peter's staying on through our Champions League coverage this week. Ruud Gullit joining us, Marcel Desailly, and Arsene Wenger will be here as well. What did Casper say about Vardy?
Well, as I was talking before, he was phoning me.
Of course he was. I saw it as well.
I haven't spoken to him yet.
You could have taken the call.
I should have. Yeah.